Hello, in this video I am going to explain how to answer the questions in the Edexcel GCSE Maths Paper 3 from what would have been in June 2020, the foundation tier. The purpose of this video is for your learning and understanding, not just the answers. There are of course other videos out there. Change 300 centimeters into meters. I am going to use the labels centimeters and meters. Always start with what we know first, and that is that 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. We are converting 300 centimeters, so we need to write that under centimeters. I am going to go across. To go from 100 to 1, we need to divide by 100. Do the same over here. That means 300 centimeters is equal to 3 meters. And for 1 mark, we only need to write the answer. Work out 1/3 of 24. When working out fractions of an amount, we need to divide by the denominator and multiply by the numerator. So we need to do 24 divided by the denominator and then multiplied by the numerator. That gets us 8. And for 1 mark, we can just write 8. Write 40% as a fraction. Percent is always per 100. That means our answer is 40 over 100. And for 1 mark, we only need to write 40 over 100. We do not need to simplify. However, if you do, you can write 4 over 10 or even 2 over 5. Again, it is not necessary. Work out 2.5 squared. We need to use this button on our calculator. If you cannot find it or you do not have one, you can just type in 2.5 multiplied by 2.5. Either way, the answer is 6.25. And for 1 mark, you only need to write in the answer. Write the following numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest number. For a question like this, it's always a good idea to draw out a number line. I'm going to start with -7. Now I can easily picture which number is the smallest. The smallest number is -6. Cross that out from the original list. And then we have -4, and then -3, and then 0, and then 1, and then 2, and finally 7. For having them all in the correct order, we would get 1 mark. The graph shows information about car production in the UK over 8 years. Part A. For how many of these years was car production more than 1.4 million? We need to go to 1.4 million on the y-axis and draw a line across. Now we can clearly see for how many years the production was more than 1.4 million. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. For 1 mark, we just need to write 5. Part B. In which 2 years was car production the same? Now we need to find the 2 lines that have the same height. We have this one and this one. For our second mark, we just need to write 5 and 6. And now we have 2 marks altogether. What fraction of the shape is shaded? Give your answer in its simplest form. For the denominator, we need to work out the total number of boxes. We have 4 along here and 4 boxes along here. 4 lots of 4 is 16. so the denominator is 16. The total number of boxes that are shaded will be our numerator. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 boxes are shaded. Our numerator is 12. We now have 1 mark. We need to simplify this fraction. We need a common factor of 12 and 16. The highest common factor is 4. That means we can divide the numerator and the denominator by 4. We now have 3 over 4. And that is our final answer. We now have 2 marks. Kareem buys 200 tiles. The tiles are sold in boxes. There are 25 tiles in each box. Each box of tiles costs £9.75. Work out the total cost of the boxes of tiles Kareem buys. Step 1, we need to work out the number of boxes Kareem needs. We have boxes and we have tiles. One box contains 25 tiles. Kareem is buying 200 tiles. If we go across, 25 divided by 25 gives us 1. Do the same over here. So now Kareem needs to buy 8 boxes. We now have 1 mark. Step 2, we need to work out the cost. We have boxes and we have cost. One box is £9.75. Remember, always start with what you know. Kareem is buying 8 boxes. To go from 1 to 8, we need to multiply by 8. Do the same on this side. We now have our second mark. That gets us 78. And for writing 78 as our final answer, we have our third mark. Work out the value of 300 over 2 multiplied by 5. You can always type all of this into your calculator, or you can write this out as 300 over 10. That means 300 divided by 10, and that gets us 30. For 1 mark, you just need to write 30. Work out the value of the following. We can type all of this into our calculator, or we can do it step by step. The first bracket would give us 3.5. The second bracket would give us 12. When brackets are touching like this, it means 3.5 multiplied by 12, and we get 42. It's a 1 mark question, so we only need to write 42. Write down the reciprocal of 20. If we picture 20 as a fraction, it is 20 over 1. Reciprocal means to flip it over. So our answer becomes 1 over 20. And for 1 mark, we just need to write 1 over 20. The graph shows information about the time in minutes a liquid has been cooling and the temperature of the liquid in degrees Celsius. Part A. What is the temperature of the liquid at time 2 minutes? We need to find 2 minutes on the x-axis. We then need to draw a line vertically until we hit the curve. Now we can draw a line horizontally to read the temperature. The temperature is 80 degrees Celsius. And now we have our first mark. The question goes on to say, Pam recorded the time when the liquid had a temperature of 50 degrees Celsius. Part B. Write down this time. Now we are going to go to 50 degrees on the y-axis. We are going to draw a horizontal line until we hit the curve. Then we can draw a vertical line to read the time. The time is 8 minutes. And now we have our second mark. The question goes on to say, Pam says that the temperature of the liquid drops more in the first 3 minutes of cooling than it does between time 9 minutes and 12 minutes. Is Pam correct? Give a reason for your answer. We need to find the temperature at 0 minutes, which is 100 degrees Celsius. We also need to find the temperature at 3 minutes. Again, draw a vertical line and then go across. That temperature is 73 degrees Celsius. So now we can find the difference. That is 27. Moving on to 9 minutes, draw a line vertically and then across. That temperature is 47 degrees Celsius. And finally, go to 12 minutes, draw a line vertically, go across, and that temperature is 40 degrees Celsius. The difference is 7 degrees Celsius. To now answer the question, is Pam correct? We can say yes, and then our reason is because 27 is more than 7. And now we have 1 mark. PQRS is a quadrilateral. PST is a straight line. Find the value of y. I am going to label angle PSR as x. Now for step 1, I can work out angle x. As it is inside the quadrilateral, I am going to do 360, subtract 95, subtract 130, subtract 65. X is equal to 70 degrees. And now we have 1 mark. For step 2, angle X and Y are together on a straight line. So angle Y is 180, subtract 70. And now we have our second mark. Y is equal to 110. And that is our third mark. Here are the first 5 terms of a number sequence. Part 1. Write down the next 2 terms of this sequence. First, we need to work out the term-to-term rule. We are always subtracting 5. That means the next 2 terms will be 20 and 15. We must write both of them for the 1 mark. The question goes on to say, a term of this sequence is -5. Which term? We can see that we have the first, second, third, fourth, fifth term. We have the 6th and 7th term. If I now continue the sequence, we would get 10, 5, 0, and then -5. So that would be the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th term. So to answer the question, we would say the 11th term. And that would get us our second mark. The nth term of a different sequence is given by the expression 4n add 3. Find the 9th term of this sequence. That means n is equal to 9, so we can do 4 multiplied by 9 add 3. That gets us 36 add 3, making the 9th term 39. And for 1 mark, we just need to write 39. Work out the perimeter of this shape. Perimeter is the total distance around the outside of a shape. For that, we need to work out this missing length. That will be 10 subtract 4, which gives us 6. We also need this vertical length over here, and for that we need to do 7 subtract 5, which gives us 2. Now we can start calculating the perimeter. I'm going to mark my start point over here. So I need to do 4, add 5, add 6, add 2, add 10, and finally add 7. Now I have 1 mark. The answer is then 34 centimeters. And now I have my second mark. Simplify 3x, add 5y, add 2x, subtract 4y. I am going to underline 3x, which means I must underline add 2x. I can now circle add 5y, which means I must circle subtract 4y. Now I can start simplifying. 3x add 2x is 5x, and now I have 1 mark. A positive 5y subtract 4y is 1y, but we do not write 1y, we just write plus y, and that would be our second mark. Solve 5p add 7 equals 22. I am going to use the flowchart method. 5p means multiplied by 5. Add 7 is just add 7. That gets us 22. To solve, we need to go backwards and do the inverse. So first we need to subtract 7 and then divide by 5. For writing this, we now have 1 mark. 22 subtract 7 is 15. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And now we have our second mark. Here are the costs of the same type of batteries in 2 shops. Harry needs to buy at least 30 batteries. He assumes that he has to buy batteries in whole packs. Harry wants to buy the batteries as cheaply as possible from the same shop. Which shop should he buy the batteries from? You must show all your working. Let's start with shop A. We have batteries and we have the number of packs. There are 4 batteries in 1 pack. Harry wants to buy 30 batteries. To go from 4 to 1, we need to divide by 4. We need to do the same over here. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. Remember, Harry needs to buy whole packs and it must be at least 30. Therefore, he actually needs 8 packs from shop A. And now we have 1 mark. Now we can work out the costs. So we have packs and we have cost. 1 pack costs £1.60. Harry is buying 8 packs. To go from 1 to 8, we need to multiply by 8. Do the same over here. That costs £12.80. And now we have a second mark. Moving on to shop B, we are going to do the same thing. We have batteries and we have packs. In shop B, there are 6 batteries in 1 pack. Remember, Harry wants 30 batteries. To go from 6 to 1, we need to divide by 6. Do the same over here. 30 divided by 6 is 5, which is a whole number. Now we can work out the cost. So we have packs and we have cost. 1 packet costs £2.70. Harry is buying 5 packs from shop B. To go from 1 to 5, we need to multiply by 5. Do the same on this side. That costs £13.50. And now we have 3 marks. We now need to give a statement which shop is cheaper we can say buy from shop A. Remember, we must justify because £12.80 is less than £13.50. And now we would have our fourth mark. Harry's assumption is wrong. He can buy single batteries for 40p each in shop A and for 45p each in shop B. Does this affect which of these two shops Harry should buy the batteries from? Give a reason for your answer. It does not affect our answer, so we can say no. Our reason is because 40p is less than 45p. And we can also mention shop A is still cheaper. And now we would have 1 mark. There are only 5 blue cards, 2 green cards and 4 red cards in a pack. Isabella is going to take at random 1 card from the pack. Write down the probability that Isabella will take a blue card. For probability, our answer needs to be a fraction, percentage or decimal. I am going to write my answer as a fraction. The fraction's denominator must be the total number of cards. 5 add 2 add 4 is 11. So the denominator will be 11. Now we have 1 mark. Because the question is about blue cards, the numerator is 5. And now we have 2 marks. Ken is going to throw a biased dice. The probability that the dice will land on 6 is 0.3. What is the probability that the dice will not land on 6? For this, we need to do 1 subtract 0.3. All probabilities must add up to 1. We end up with 0.7, and that is all we need to write for the 1 mark. Draw accurately an isosceles triangle with sides of length 8 cm, 6 cm and 6 cm. One side of the triangle has been drawn for you. The 8 cm line has been drawn, so we can tick this off. To construct this triangle, we need a pair of compasses. We need to make sure it's opened up to 6 cm. Put the point of the compass at the end of the 8 cm line and then draw an arc. It should be big enough to cross most of the page. And then move your compass over to the other end, put the point at the end of the 8 cm line and draw another arc. They should intersect. Now we get out our ruler and we can join the ends with the intersection. Because we have drawn a 6 cm line correctly, we would get 1 mark. Now for joining up the other side, we have drawn a triangle where the other side is also 6 cm, so now we have our second mark. This graph can be used to change between US dollars and British pounds. Rosie bought a ring in the USA. She paid $345 US. Work out in pounds the amount Rosie paid for the ring. So we have dollars and we have pounds. We do not have 345 over here. We need to use a number that is on the axes. I am going to use 30. If we go across and then down, we can see that $30 is equal to 23 pounds. And now we have 1 mark. We are converting $345. We need to work out 30 multiplied by what is 345. So I am going to do 345 divided by 30. I get 11.5. Now I need to multiply 30 by 11.5. I need to do the same over here. And now I have a second mark. That gets me 264.5. So as a final answer, I can say the ring in pounds is £264 and 50 pence. And that would be my third mark. Here are the types of sandwiches sold in a cafe last week. 56 tuna sandwiches were sold. This was 40% of the total number of sandwiches sold. Work out the total number of sandwiches sold. I'm going to use two headings, sandwiches and percentage. We know 56 tuna sandwiches were sold, and that was represented by 40%. We want the total, so we want 100%. Now we need a common factor of 40 and 100. It can be any common factor. I will use 10. 40 divided by 4 is 10. 10 multiplied by 10 is 100. We need to do the same on the other side. 56 divided by 4 is 14, and then 14 multiplied by 10. For having all of this written out, we now have 1 mark. For then saying that the total number of sandwiches is 140, we have our second mark. Of the 56 tuna sandwiches sold, 18 were sold on Friday. Write 18 as a percentage of 56. Give your answer correct to the nearest whole number. We need to do 18 over 56 multiplied by 100. If you do not have a fraction button, you can type in 18 divided by 56 and then multiplied by 100. For writing either one of these lines, we would get 1 mark. The calculator then says it's 32.1428 and it goes on. The question says to round to the nearest whole number. The nearest whole number is the same as the nearest units, so draw a wall at the decimal point. We must focus on the 1. We can ignore the rest. Because it's a 1, we need to round down, and the answer is then 32%. And now we have our second mark. Akhtar, Ben and Carl each have some money. Akhtar has £65. Ben has £100. Carl has 3 £5 notes, 1 £20 note, and some £10 notes. The mean amount of money per person is £80. How many £10 notes does Carl have? Before starting, it's good to remember how to calculate the mean. In this question, it would be the total amount of money divided by the number of people. We do not know the total amount of money because we do not know how many £10 notes Carl has. For step 1, we need to work out the total money. We know 80 is equal to total divided by 3, as there are 3 people. For total then, we will do 80 multiplied by 3, because that's the opposite of dividing, and we get 240. We now have 1 mark. Step 2, we need to work out the value of the £10 notes. We need to do the total amount of money, £240, subtract £65, subtract £100, subtract the 3 £5 notes, and subtract the £20 note. For writing this out, we now have a second mark. This gives us 40. Now we have a third mark. Step 3, we need to work out how many £10 notes Carl has. So we have notes and we have value. One note has a value of £10. Carl has £40. To go from 10 to 1, I need to divide by 10. I will do the same over here. That gives me 4. So for our final mark, we can say that Carl must have 4 £10 notes. Malik is going to throw a fair coin 50 times. Write down an estimate for the number of times the coin will land on heads. For a question like this, we always do the probability multiplied by the frequency. The probability for a fair coin is a half, or 0.5. The frequency, or the number of throws, is 50. That means the estimated number of times the coin will land on heads is 25. And for 1 mark, we just need to write 25. Paula and Simon are trying to find out if a different coin is biased. Paula throws this coin 10 times. She records the number of times the coin lands on heads. Simon throws the same coin 100 times. He records the number of times the coin lands on heads. Whose result will be more useful in deciding if the coin is biased? Give a reason for your answer. We need to write Simon. The reason is he has a higher number of throws. We also need to back this up with numbers. 100 is more than 10. And now we have 1 mark. Here is a solid made from a square-based pyramid and a cube. Each edge of the solid has length 6 centimeters. On the grid, draw the plan of this solid. A plan is the view from the top, like a bird's eye view. If we stand over the top, the outside skeleton would be a square shape, and in this case, the square would be length 6 centimeters. Now we have 1 mark. Because there is a pyramid on top of the cube, we should see diagonal lines to signify that pyramid. And now we have 2 marks. Simplify n to the power of 3 multiplied by n to the power of 5. Remember, when the base is the same, we need to add the powers. 3 add 5 is 8. So for 1 mark, we need to say n to the power of 8. Simplify the following. I am going to rewrite this as c cubed divided by c squared multiplied by d to the power of 4 over d to the power of 1. When dividing, we need to subtract the powers. So 3 subtract 2 is 1, multiplied by 4 subtract 1 is 3, so d cubed. This is not simplified. We need to write this as c and then d cubed. For having c in our answer, we have 1 mark, and then for having d cubed, we have our second mark. Solve the following inequality. For a question like this, I am going to use the flowchart method. I have x, multiply it by 5, and then divide by 2, and that gives us 7. To go backwards, we need to do the opposite. We need to multiply by 2, and then we need to divide by 5. We now have 1 mark. If you type this into your calculator, you would get 7 multiplied by 2, which is 14, and then divide that by 5, and we get 2.8. Now we need to write the answer as an inequality. That is x more than 2.8, and that is our second mark. Andy cycled a distance of 30 kilometers at an average speed of 24 kilometers per hour. He then runs a distance of 12 kilometers at an average speed of 8 kilometers per hour. Work out the total time Andy takes. Give your answer in hours and minutes. For step 1, I am going to work with the cycling part. We have distance and we have time. If his speed is 24 kilometers per hour, that is 24 kilometers in 60 minutes. He is cycling for 30 kilometers. We need to think of a number that is a factor of 24 and 30. I can think of 6. To go from 24 to 6, we need to divide by 4. To go from 6 to 30, we need to multiply by 5. Do the same on this side. Divide by 4 and we get 15. Multiply by 5 and we get 75. Step 2. Now I'm going to work with the running part. We have distance again and time. His speed is 8 kilometers per hour, so 8 kilometers in 60 minutes. He is running for 12 kilometers. A common factor of 8 and 12 is 4. We can divide by 2 to get to 4, and then multiply by 3 to get to 12. Do the same on this side. 60 divided by 2 is 30. 30 multiplied by 3 is 90. For having 75 or for having 90, we would have 1 mark. Step 3, we can work out the total time. That is 75 add 90, and that gets us 165 minutes. That is our second mark. Step 4, we need to convert that into hours and minutes. We know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. We know 2 hours is equal to 120 minutes. 3 hours would be 180 minutes, which is more than the 165. So now we are going to do 165 subtract 120, and that is 45 minutes. So in total, Andy takes 2 hours and 45 minutes. And that is our third mark. A number m is rounded to 1 decimal place. The result is 9.4. Complete the error interval for m. If a number has been rounded to 1 decimal place, the smallest 1 decimal number is 0.1. If we divide that by 2, we get 0.05. For the upper bound, we need to do 9.4 add on 0.05. That gets us 9.45, and we can write that over here. Now we have 1 mark. For the lower bound, we need to do 9.4 subtract 0.05, and that gets us 9.35, and we are going to write that over here. And now we have our second mark. Macy knows that she needs 3 kilograms of grass seed to make a rectangular lawn of 5 meters by 9 meters. Grass seed is sold in 2 kilogram boxes. Macy wants to make a rectangular lawn of 10 meters by 14 meters. She has 5 boxes of grass seed. Has Macy got enough grass seed to make a lawn 10 meters by 14 meters? You must show all your working. Step 1. I am going to work out how much grass seed Macy has. So we have boxes and kilograms. One box has 2 kilograms of grass seed. Macy has 5 boxes. To go from 1 to 2, we need to multiply by 2. Do the same over here. Macy has 10 kilograms of grass seed. And now we have 1 mark. Step 2, we need to know the area covered by the 3 kg. So that is 5 multiplied by 9 because it is a rectangle, and that gives us 45 square meters. Step 3, we need to work out the area needed. And it's still a rectangle, so we need to do 10 multiplied by 14, and we get 140 square meters. For having both of these, we now have our second mark. Step 4, we need to work out the amount of kilograms needed. So we have kilograms and square meters. We know that 3 kilograms covers 45 square meters. We want to know how many kilograms are needed to cover 140 square meters. To go from 45 to 3, we need to divide by 15. Do the same over here. Macy needs 9.3 kilograms of grass seed. Now we have our third mark. Macy needs 9.3, but she has 10. That means Macy has enough. Remember, we must always give a reason, because 10 kg is more than 9.3 kg. And now we would have our fourth mark. Macy opens the 5 boxes of grass seed. She finds that 4 of the boxes contain 2 kilograms of grass seed. The other box contains 1 kilogram of grass seed. Does this affect whether Macy has enough grass seed to make her lawn? Give a reason for your answer. Before starting, I want to work out how much grass seed she actually has. So that is 4 multiplied by the 2 kg. Add on the 1 kg. Macy has 9 kg. Does this affect whether Macy has enough grass seed? Yes, it does. Because Macy needs 9.3 kilograms, which is more than 9 kilograms, and that would get us 1 mark. Amanda has 2 fair 3-sided spinners. Amanda spins each spinner once. Part A, complete the probability tree diagram. If we look at spinner A, there is only 1 2, so it is 1 over 3. For not landing on 2, it will be 2 over 3. We now have 1 mark. If we look at spinner B, it is the same, so it landing on 2 is 1 over 3. Not landing on 2 is 2 over 3. This last set of branches is still for spinner B, and it's still 1 over 3 for landing on 2, and 2 over 3 for not landing on 2. And now we have 2 marks. Part B, Work out the probability that spinner A lands on 2 and spinner B does not land on 2. That means we need to go to spinner A lands on 2 and then spinner B does not land on 2. Because it said the word and, we must multiply. So we need to do 1/3 multiplied by 2/3. We now have 1 mark. That gives us 2/9. We now have our second mark. Overall, we now have 4 marks. Use these graphs to solve the simultaneous equations. When solving simultaneous equations graphically, we just need to find the point of intersection. Now, the x-coordinate is our x solution, so -2, and the y-coordinate is our y solution, so 4. And that's what we need to write for the 1 mark. Use this graph to find estimates for the solutions of the quadratic equation x squared subtract 4x add 2 is equal to 0. If the quadratic equals 0, we need to find where it crosses the x-axis, which is over here and over here. So my solutions are x equals 0.6, which gets me 1 mark, and x equals 3.4, which gets me my second mark. The diagram shows a solid triangular prism. The prism is made from wood with a density of 0.8 grams per cubic centimeter. Work out the mass of this prism. For this question, we need the formula for density, or you can use the triangle MVD. That is mass at the top, then volume at the bottom, and density at the bottom. We do not have volume. That is our first step. As this is a prism, we can do CSA, which is cross-sectional area, multiplied by length. The cross-sectional area is a triangle, and the area of a triangle is base multiplied by height, so 4 multiplied by 6 divided by 2. The length of this prism is 10 centimeters, so we need to multiply by 10. That gives us 12 multiplied by 10, and the volume is 120 cubic centimeters. We now have 1 mark. Step 2, we need to work out the mass. If we look at the triangle at the top, mass is at the top, so I'm going to cross it out. V and D are at the bottom, and that is volume multiplied by density. So we need to do 120 multiplied by 0.8, and now we have a second mark. That gives us 96 grams, and that is our third mark. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely day.